Well, good morning. This is Tampa Home Talk, and I'm your host, Katrina Madewell, and you've got myself and Leo in the house this morning.
What? Wait, where's Adam Talley from Talley Insurance?
He is going to be calling in today, a little bit closer to 8:30.
Okay, well, this is Leo Kane with Barrel Engineering and Inspection.
We do have some great guests coming in for you this morning. We'll tell you about those towards the latter part of the segment. But for right now, we're going to dive into a little bit of market stats. And
these are boring, same as last week.
No, they're not.
Same as last week.
You think they're boring, but let me tell you why they're not.
Well, they're just as exciting as they were last week, and I like debuting new news. This is just rehashed old news.
No, actually, it's not. Look a little closer to the numbers, Leo. Let's go through them. So,
wow, I didn't see that.
Ironically,
there's no irony here.
Well, the number of active listings is exactly the same.
Yeah, I know.
1,065, like not even one number off. That's kind of weird.
That has nothing to do with
You know why?
irony.
It's all my fault. I've got a listing we need to activate, and if I would have got it activated, we would have had one more.
That would have been awesome.
Anyway, so the number of new active listings, these are sold properties in Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas, single-family homes. The number of brand new homes that hit the market this week are 1,065. And you may remember last week, if you didn't, we'll remind you, our number of pending sales were 1,589. This week, they're up a little bit.
Just a little bit.
1,695. Now, here's where the good news is, and this is what I was talking about last week.
The solds are up?
Our number of solds. Last week, it was 1,055, and this week, it's 1,409.
Wait, so how is it good news if I've got 3,000 between pending and sold, and I've only got 1,000 new to replace that?
Well, it's good news for sellers. It's not good news for buyers.
Not good news for a home inspector that wants to inspect homes.
Or home inspectors. But sellers, like right now, if you've been thinking about selling.
Now's never been a better time.
Never. Like the minute the rates go up, we're going to start to see a slowdown. That's when we'll see the pullback a little bit.
Well, I don't know if we're going to see rates go up because I don't want to use the word bubble. We're isolated occurrence in that Florida has an influx of a lot more people where other markets are really poor.
Right.
Our markets are house poor, but buyer rich.
Healthy.
Buyer rich. Buyer rich.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. People are also, bringing their income from other places. We're seeing them start to relocate here. And so I think it's just going to have a long-term impact on our prices. I've said this last week. I've said it several weeks in a row, but I'll just continue to say it. We'll see that cyclical real estate dip, but we're not going to see a crash that we did in 08.
Is this 1065? Does that include the $29 million house?
It would include everything. If it's a home and it's single family in one of those three counties, Pasco, Pinellas, or Hillsborough.
I guess at $29 million for one building, I guess it counts as one house.
That's one structure. One tax ID, one structure. One listing.
Yep. I guess that would count then. So if you're in the market for a $29.5 million house, I have the hookup for you. Yeah,
we should pull the range too. That would be cool to look at the range, and we'll do that. We'll start getting a little bit more fun.
The ranges, they'll be like anything from like $5,000 tear me downs up to $29.5 million.
No, there's not 5,000 anything.
Tear me downs?
No.
Really?
It's a home that's already there. The impact fees are more than $5,000.
You don't have to pay the impact fees if you're
tearing down.
Well, if the home is deemed a tear down and someone has to adopt all the costs of tearing it down, then they sell real cheap. I've seen them still at $15,000 for tear downs.
So, I mean, your impact fees are more than that, really?
No, you don't have to pay impact fees.
You're missing it, Leo.
No, you're missing it. Impact fees are for brand new construction.
I know.
So if you have a home and you tear it down and you put up another home in its place,
you don't have impact fees.
You don't have impact fees.
Right. So that makes a home, even if it's a tear down, the lot, I should say, that has a home on it, even if it's a tear down, more valuable than one that's never had any connection or any structure on it.
But usually when they're pricing out lots of land that have tear downs on them, they have to subtract out the cost to munch the house.
I get what you're saying, but that's not what we're seeing.
Okay. I'm just talking about how a normal, everyday market should operate.
Well, this is anything but a normal, everyday market.
This is a boring market. We've leveled off. My spreadsheet has leveled off.
Well, you say it's leveled off, but that spike in closed home sales does not tell me we've leveled off. That's almost a 25% hike.
We have come from a time of 1,134 listings new in April. We peaked around 1,500 in August, and now we're back down to 1,065.
But look at our home sales.
Our home sales have been, they're even higher before.
But look, they were high at the beginning. When we started measuring these and giving you guys a market reports every week, our first week we started polling was March 2nd. And on that week, the number of home sales was 1,565.
Yeah. And
So-
now we're at 1,409.
We're getting closer because really you look at all those other weeks, Leo, and we had
it
one.
dipped. We had this one, that low week of 787. What happened on May 15th?
Well, you got to think this is the sales cycle right here. So Leo's looking at only 787 homes sold on May 15th. But I guarantee if you go back and you look at your inspection history, you had people canceling around that time as well.
Oh, due to the COVIDs.
For COVID.
Yeah.
So that's your sales cycle. Think about it.
Yeah.
If you got listed in March, the whole world's collapsing, right? They're not sure what's going on.
No, well, the world didn't collapse March 2nd. The world collapsed
didn't.
March 12th.
Correct, right. It was, but this was when things just started getting announced.
No. We're going to put that to 12. I'm going to rewrite that to a 12.
Okay. So it just started getting announced in March. But look at that. That's about 60 days into it.
That's true.
That's where things really, I mean, I know we had more than one inspection with you guys
That got canceled.
that we scheduled, and they got canceled because the buyer lost their job. Now, they later
Got a job.
went on to get their job again and go under contract on another home.
Did we do the inspection?
Yes, you did.
Okay, awesome. Then a complete
Yeah,
circle.
it's
I like
one
that.
you're very familiar with.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that one. Well, actually, we were supposed to talk about that.
Well,
Remember?
we can still talk about that.
So let's talk about a couple things. So number one, and so this was a little bit of an eye opener for me that I feel like should be conveyed a little bit better, right? There's so many moving parts in a home purchase and a home sale that looking at this, Leo, one of the things, like, we go in and we give based on the inspection report, we'll give the seller a list of the items that we want repaired,
Right.
replaced, or if we're going to cancel, we let them know that. But if we're going to repair or replace, especially through licensed people, one of the challenges I'm seeing is you guys, even though you did the inspection report, you don't actually have the addendum with the repairs that we requested.
Yeah, we should always get
Which we're
the
normally
addendum.
pulling off the 4-point, right?
Right.
But I think it would be just a good idea as custom practice maybe to give that to the inspector so that when you guys go back, whether it's the initial inspector or any inspector, right? Because you guys are backlogged right now, that can happen. They're inspecting off of that original list.
Well, that's kind of what, like, our reinspection clearly states, and that's to protect everyone involved, is for a reinspection, we're going in with a specific list of items we're looking for. We have blinders to everything else because we're not there to do a
You've
whole
already
new
done
house.
the full home inspection.
Yeah, we're not there to do a whole new house inspection. So typically we go back in and make sure the items on our 4-point report are clear so a house can get insurance. Now, if the seller decides to monkey around with the rest of the house or there's a bigger addendum that we don't see, we're still only checking the items that we are told going in.
Right.
And that could cause some issues if you have someone that's doing unlicensed work on the house. Because the other difficulty there is the permit sites usually lag.
Or if they take shortcuts. I
Or
mean,
if
there's
they-
things that you can't see, right? Because you're not reclimbing back in the attic. You're not doing stuff like that.
Nope.
So,
Well, sometimes we are. It depends if that's on the list.
yeah, but I think the greater takeaway for me is when you guys are going back out for a reinspect, hey, these are the items we've negotiated the seller's going to be replacing.
Yeah, and those are the items we check.
These are the items we're reinspecting. And so, certainly as we move along, we do a lot of transactions. I mean, there's a learning experience from a lot of things for sure. But for the person listening, what I want to leave you with today is especially if you're buying a property, if you're the buyer side of the transaction, make sure that whatever repairs you've negotiated in to be repaired,
You get a receipt.
that inspector, well, not only a receipt, but I would put that list in your inspector's hand.
Well, yeah, put the list in the inspector's hand, but get a receipt. Because a lot of times when we're doing re-inspections,
We got a receipt.
We ask for, and there's a licensed electrician there, so that's why it's a 489.
We got a receipt. Yeah. So anyway, we're talking about something that I wouldn't say it fall through the cracks, but I would say us as business owners learned a little bit from that. And we're going to make sure that we make things spot on. So my takeaway for you again is if you're a buyer, hand that inspector that list so they can re-inspect from those items on it. All right, this is Tampa Home Talk.
813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775.
You can call or text that number.
I gave an extra 7.
813-377-2775. And we'd love to hear from you. If you got questions, ideas, or contents for the show, let me know. And I feel like there was something else we're going to talk about.
There's a break.
We'll do it when we come back. Back in a minute.
Welcome back. This is Leo Kane with Barrel Engineering and Inspection. I'm here with Katrina from Tampa Home Talk.
And before we introduce our guest, one thing we want to talk about. So we got an open house.
We have an open house. I love open houses.
I think we have more than one, but that's the one I have in front of me. Maybe we'll get you some more information on the other ones.
This one's near Carrollwood. This is 6652 Rocky Park Street, Tampa, Florida.
Brand new listing.
Is this a townhome? This
2
looks
years
like a townhome.
old. It is a townhome.
It's a 2-1, 2-story with a garage. $275,000 townhome.
It's going to fly.
Oh, yeah. This home will sell quick.
This will be open. And by the way, this is like a second from the veterans. So you can literally be at the airport in 5 minutes. You can be at Benty Davis Beach in less than 10. You can be anywhere, really, probably in 15 minutes.
Are you going to even survive to the point of having an open house?
Well, right now in this market, when we take a new listing, Leo, we are simply not taking any offers until Monday.
Okay.
Because we find that really the market is so hot, it serves the seller well if we hold any offers through the weekend, do 1 or 2 open houses, and then review all of our best offers on Monday and choose the best one together.
That's good. I mean, this home's got 8-foot tall doors. It's got a walk-in pantry, so it's meant for really tall, hungry people.
Beautiful home. It looks like a model. It's only 2 years old. The seller is simply moving to an area a little bit further north. They want to get up here in the Pasco area. But our open house is on Saturday between 11 and 2.
Yeah, and that is 6652 Rocky Park Street, Tampa, Florida, 33625. I'll be saying that several times throughout the hour.
And if you're driving and you can't get it, text us. We'll send you the info sheet, all the photos, more information on it. Just text the listing to 813-377-2775.
And these are good schools. Citrus Park HB Elementary, Sergeant Smith Middle, Sickles High School. Those are all good schools. Leland Management. I know the management company really well. That's a good management company.
Great.
Yeah, these are all things that you like to see. I like the fact that you give the association manager name and phone number right there.
We put it on the listing because people always have really specific questions.
Well, you got to
around
request.
pets.
It's very important for pets. It's very important to get a copy of the reserve statement.
Fences. Yeah, we put all that in the MLS attachments.
Yeah, you need to get those documents. You should never buy a townhome or condominium without getting a copy of the most recent budget. And taking a look at the reserves and make sure that they're putting money in the reserves every year.
And the rules, the covenants, all that stuff.
I'm less concerned about the rules and covenants than I am the making sure they have a budget and making sure they have reserves.
I know the engineer is always going to look at the numbers first.
Well, if they don't have reserves, here's what ends up happening.
No.
You don't have adequate reserves. You just move into your new condo. You're strapped for cash because you just put 20% down. And next thing you know, you've got a $12,000 bill for a roof.
But I will tell you this. When the market was down, I personally picked up about 3 properties that had terrible looking financials, but there was nowhere to go up from there. And the condos were so cheap and not financeable, it was worth it.
Well, that's different.
They tripled in value.
I think my condos have quadrupled since I did the similar thing. But I mean, I'm just saying now for the average consumer,
new management,
the average consumer, you want to make sure you're requesting those documents. You want a copy of the budget and a copy of the reserves. You want to at least look at them to make sure that they're budgeting money for these major things. Now, reserves are going to be like your roof. They're going to be your outside building painting. They're going to be a whole bunch of things that are large ticket dollar items that if they don't have the money when they need to do the work, they're just going to do something called a special assessment and hit you for it regardless.
And if you're not familiar with, what should be in that budget, or you look at it and it looks like Chinese to you, or Greek, or another language that you don't know how to read, get it to your CPA, get it to your accountant, get it to somebody that's really savvy with numbers that can assist you on that.
Yeah, and you can always text 813-377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. our firm actually does reserve studies, so we can create those budgets, so we know how to read
Look
them.
at that. Yeah. So Leo can stack them up and compare it. All right.
Who's our guest?
Let's go to our guest.
Who's our guest?
All right. So Miss Chrissy Copeland.
I'm Jasmine. Chrissy will be here in like 2
Oh, so we have Jasmine. We do not have Chrissy yet, right?
She'll be here very soon. She just tried to call me actually, but I didn't want to interrupt you guys.
That's okay. Yeah, we had her potted down, so we'll pot her back up. So Jasmine is here right now, and Chrissy is on the way, right? And we are going to talk all about ghost party tours.
Oh, is that time of the year again?
Well, almost, but here's the challenge.
Where's my pumpkin spice latte?
We're in September, and by the time it rolls around to October, you guys are already so busy you can't come hang out with us in the studio, right?
Right. Well, it is all year round. So, but I mean, ghost hunting, that we obviously get more busy around Halloween time.
Is this the one on the water, or is this a different one?
We're in Ybor.
Okay.
In Tampa, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because I tell you, I had...
Ybor is very haunted.
Yeah.
Especially at 2:30 in the morning.
Well, there's a... I had a lady that was a really good friend of mine. She wrote a book on feng shui.
Okay.
And literally, I remember we were going down to Ybor one weekend, and she's like, no, I am not going to Ybor City, not at night. Not at night. And so you can probably chat about some of what history do you know? Since you live in Ybor, Leo, you probably can add a little bit to the conversation. But while you think about that, let's talk to Jasmine and talk about Ghost Party Tour. So that was founded by Chrissy in 2007, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. What made her want to start a Ghost Party Tour, and what are you guys doing on this tour?
I really don't know what made her want to. Actually, I do know. She was doing real estate for about 15 years. And then she went on.
We'll have a fun conversation about that on the air.
Yeah.
People always think it's like HGTV, right? Like HGTV, and it's so easy. We think we get that a lot.
Yeah, I was wondering because I was, it's funny that she told me about that because I wanted to go into real estate at first, and
what did she tell you? Give us a couple of the horror stories. I'm sure she gave you.
Ghost stories and horror stories. This is our Halloween special.
Well, she told me that it was probably not a good idea because it doesn't really take off until like the first 2 or 3 years. And I was like, well, I just turned 21. I'm trying to start my life right now. And it was just not.
Well, it's funny when we do our meet and greets. What we do is we literally, I showed them, I'm like, so tell me, when you think about real estate and you think about your real estate career, tell me what you think that is, right? And so we let them explain to us what they think a real estate agent is. And the stories are like stuff you see on TV, right? Mm-hmm. And so we flip to the next slide on our PowerPoint and we're like, let me show you what it's really like. Here's some of the properties that we have actually sold. And by the way, Leo, one of the last ones you physically inspected. Do you remember that one? The one that was a hoarder house? You physically inspected that one with me. It was in Clearwater.
That must have been like 4 years ago.
It was a long while ago, yeah. But do you remember that? All the stuff that was in it? It was like your inspection report was probably 100 pages long.
You couldn't walk. I mean, it was like you walk into the house and like just imagine that everything you see here.
Do you remember it? It was on a lake. Do you remember it at all?
I've been in a lot of hoarder houses.
You were just about exiting inspections,
yeah,
and that was one of the final ones that you did with me.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of hoarder houses, so.
Yeah, so basically, it's interesting because, we were in this house, and there were so many defects that literally you could not even tell, you couldn't get to everything in the house that you needed to inspect. And and that was all over your report, by the way. And the list of defects were so long that you were like, well, I mean, I can't even talk about the broken plate on the plug. Like I'm putting all the
house
stuff.
Is that much of a hoarder house. They're not maintaining the house. You can't maintain anything in the interior.
My Wilito, my grandpa, before he died, I hadn't seen him for about 9 years before he passed away. And after he passed away, he turned into a total hoarder. Like there were like...
Wait, after he passed away? You mean
before. Right before. There were like pathways through his house. He had like 10 of everything. It was crazy. And my mom has twin sisters, and they got to his house before we did, so they took everything that was worth anything.
It's not fun for the people left behind that are trying to clean that up, right? So we have Chrissy that's going to be joining us here, and we'll talk a little bit about some of her past real estate experience that kind of pushed her, into something a little bit different. And so tell me, Jasmine, while you're all mic'd up and while Chrissy's getting settled, what kind of experience can someone expect from this tour?
Well, surprise, surprise, today is my first day.
Okay. So Chrissy's going to chat a little bit, I guess, on what to expect. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
We're doing good. So we were talking a little bit about your experience, and she was saying how you did real estate for a decade and a half, and you said don't plan to make any money for 2 years. So we were asking her about some of the other horror stories that you had, and we'd love to hear a little bit about your background, and then also tell the person listening a little bit more about what they can experience on the Ghost Party Tours in Ybor.
Awesome.
And that music right there signals that we have to run to a quick break. And we're going to go ahead and do that. If you want to get information, our off-air number, 813-377-2775. We're going to chat about it, of course, when we come back in just a minute. But 813-377-2775. Stick around. This is Tampa Home Talk. We'll be back in just a minute.
I just smell hand sanitizer.
It's not hand sanitizer.
Of course.
Like crazy disinfectant.
It's
Good morning.
crazy. It's burning my nostrils, and it was sprayed over there.
This is Tampa Home Talk. Welcome back. We're having a little fun in the studio in between segments here.
Fun. We need to air this studio out.
I think it just ate a hole in the desk.
Yeah, so we have some crazy disinfectant here in the studio, and my guest Chrissy sprayed it on her hands, and I'm like, yeah, you probably want to wash that off. It's meant for surfaces, not people. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
So let's talk a little bit about Ghost Party Tours. And before we jump in, of course, selling real estate for 30 years, I want to know all about your experience and what pushed you out of real estate and pushed you into ghost tours.
Well, my son really pushed me out of real estate. When I had my son in 2007, I couldn't stand being away from him for a minute. And I went back to work after I had him in 2007. And about 6 months later, I was like, forget it. I was in Orlando commuting to Tampa. Couldn't do it. Had to be next to him. But prior real estate experience, I was in a nice little historic town called Savannah, Georgia, and their history that goes way back, lots of American history, and I was kind of hooked. Everything at nighttime is all about ghost hunting and ghost tours there, and they've made a multi-billion-dollar business off of ghost tours.
And you said, this might not be a bad deal. Let's find the most haunted place in Tampa.
Well, I was there, working in real estate, and I found myself in pretty huge buildings. Some of them dilapidated, some of them had been redone, and that was my job or my goal in my business working in real estate, was to go into these buildings. Back during the condo craze, where you would take them and piece them apart, figure out what their best aspects were, but I would be in these buildings for hours taking pictures, trying to figure out where somebody could put chillers for ACs. Pools.
So did you ever see anything when you were out and about?
Absolutely. From the corner of my eye. I mean, just like a horror movie. You turn around, it's at dusk, and you say, what was that? Down the hallway, I'd come home, and I'd listen to my recordings because I'm listening to myself, and I'd hear something, a whisper or a giggle or a laugh, and I'm like, what was that? And then a couple years later, I met somebody, and they told me, you were ghost hunting before you even knew it. So that's what got my start.
So it's interesting. I've shared this story on the air before, but I remember when I was a kid, I remember seeing a ghost. And I didn't know someone had died in that house. But my mom knew and remembered when the people, got killed. And so, yeah, that house is still haunted. I remember as a kid, people moving in and out of that house. And then the last people that, they're still there, they know about the ghost and they just kind of live there with it. They're okay with it. But I remember when I was a kid, people moving in and out, in and out, in and out. And it was the freakiest thing I've ever seen. And I've never, I saw that as a kid. I've never seen anything as an adult, but I felt stuff. I've been in properties. I remember this one townhome that I went in Lutz, and I literally walked up the stairs and like the hair on the back of my neck just stood up.
That's the first thing you're going to do is
And I was
you're going to
like,
have that feeling.
This is the creepiest place. And it wasn't even like a REO property. It was just crazy looking. So, or just feeling, you know?
Right.
And then there was another one, and this was when all the foreclosures were going on. And it was a really big house. We're standing upstairs in the master bedroom. And I remember standing there in the bathroom talking to my clients, and then all of a sudden my stomach feels like, if you've ever been on an airplane and it drops, that feeling you get when you're on a roller
it feels
coaster.
like it pulled from inside.
Feels like a drop.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I had that feeling to my stomach, and I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what just happened, but I got to get out of here. And the lady that was standing next to me, she's really like in tune with that kind of stuff too. And she was like, yep. She was like right behind me, and her husband's there like, where are you guys going? Like, so I guess some people maybe are more in tune to it or not, but there was definitely something in that house. And we left so fast, I don't even know if I locked the door.
That's crazy. Well, that's the first thing you're going to hear or feel something is when you go into a house. You're going to actually hear that. Can you guys hear that noise?
Yeah, that's our producer having a little fun with the show.
Can you hear that? Can you feel that? No, but that's the first thing you're going to do is hear or feel something before you see it. Something I always tell people when they ask me, have you seen a ghost? What are your experiences? And since I've been doing it now for almost 30 years, unofficially and officially for since 2007, it's something where, like you go into a place and you think you see something, but you don't know. And so probably about 10 times I've actually really seen something or had an experience. So when people say, oh, I saw a ghost here last week and I saw a ghost here this week, you tend to go, I wonder if that's true. But, and then some people say, when am I going to see a ghost? I've been ghost hunting for a couple of years. Well, usually it's about every 2 to 3 years you really get an experience that you just can write down in a journal or something that's, really exciting. But I've had my share.
What did you see?
Well, I've got a lot of stories. I mean, most recently I had a situation where I was at a mansion. This is one of the mansions that we do ghost tours in. Here,
Is this in Ybor?
It's in Ybor. And after COVID,
there are mansions in Ybor.
I know, right?
there are like more than that. Actually, there's a lot. But you're right. People don't even think there's one. We're not going there right now because of COVID. We're doing all outdoor tours. But I was in this mansion, and sometimes we will get avid ghost hunters, people from all over the country that will come and give us a call and say, I want to be in your spookiest place. I want to be in the darkest place. I've got 5 people, and I want to scare my friends. Well, they don't want officially a ghost tour. They just want somebody to let them in the building, show them the spooky places, and then let them go. Well, we can't do that most of the time, just kind of let them go off, but we will give them a little bit of leadway instead of being on top of them and doing a tour. So I happened to let them stay on the same floor I was in, and I happened to be in a room where I had glass doors and I could watch them. And I sat back down, and I heard a noise coming in from a closet. And the closet door actually opened in front of me, and then footsteps came towards me.
And you couldn't see anything.
And I couldn't see anything. And it was great. It was great. So things like that happen quite a bit. But that was good.
Yeah, he's right on time.
Yeah.
Don't let that. There was somebody on the other end producing the show.
Yeah, that's
that
okay.
you can't see. He's like a ghost.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Your ghost that parks at Vallartas.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me a little bit about what kind of experience someone can experience from the tour. What do they expect? Where do you go? What places do you tour?
Right. So here locally, we have our ghost tours since 2007. And right now, like I said, they're all outdoors, but they're still extremely fun. We have ghost hunting equipment. That's our signature experience, is doing a ghost hunting or a paranormal experience.
Well, now what is that like?
Well, I've brought some tools here. I've got some divining rods right here. We've got
You need to find
Well,
water.
now what do those do?
Well, lots of people love to hold these because if you're standing in the right place at the right time, the spirits will actually move them, and you can actually feel them. I'll give one to you, and I'll give one to you, and you can actually hold it in your hand, and you can see how it turns around on its own. And as long as you're not holding that ball, right? Well, they're fun to play with,
No,
you
I'm
know.
not doing anything. I'm just holding it. Why is it spinning like this?
I don't know. Maybe
Seriously, why is it spinning like this?
you have any secrets in your
You're
past.
moving
I'm
it.
not doing it.
It's your hand. You're
I'm not
moving
doing
it.
anything.
But yeah, so and when you do come
I'm not
across,
doing anything.
it'll actually come. And that's the funniest thing with these. They're fun to play with. People sometimes will go, look, it's hitting me. The ghosts are hitting me. But when
I'm not doing
when you
anything.
sit there and you finally get into a haunted place and something does happen, people usually drop them because they'll actually remember you were saying how the energy is pulled out of you.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. So they get these. They get the thermal guns.
So tell me about what they're like.
Is it supposed to be doing this?
It is actually. So there's something in here.
I'm not doing anything. It's the air vent. It's got to be the air vent.
That's what you're saying. All right, so
Okay, I'm done. I'm
so
just
people
creeping me
hold
out.
these
It's
little
creeping me
things
out.
that spin, and let's describe this for the person listening, Leo.
It's an L bar on a swivel.
It's got a little round
It's got a little round ball.
part around for the handle.
Yeah,
And
it
there's
looks like a long elongated L.
Yeah, it's a copper
Sideways
rod, and
L-shaped.
it's got that copper rod that you can move, and they've been using these dowsing rods or divining
Is my
rods
stomach supposed to be
forever.
upset after that?
No, it must be the spray. But yeah, so we use these, and then you have the EMF detectors, and all of these pieces of equipment are seen on like the ghost hunting shows. So when you can hear the beeping,
So
now you're right. It
What
should
is
be
it
beeping.
detecting? There's something in here?
Yeah,
I had one of those in the 70s.
yeah, and I don't know if they had those, but yeah, they're
Might be detecting the radio equipment.
maybe. I think we should leave it over there and see if
No, I'm good. I don't want any of this stuff near me anymore. As a man of science, I don't want any of this stuff near me.
But yeah, you could use all of these on the tour, and we stop at about 8 spooky places. And I think one of the best places, one place that we actually found ourselves about 10 years ago, was the haunted hospital, and that's our final destination on the tour.
Final destination.
That's our
huh?
final destination
I
on the
figured
tour.
New York would be the final destination.
So it's really fun, and fun for all ages. But if you have a group that wants something spookier, we can accommodate that. Get you into a building. We're going on the 25th to a haunted bed and breakfast. We do excursions. So
you
we're very
modify
busy.
the tour based on the group.
So you feed
We
ghosts
do.
breakfast?
We do. Yeah, they can have as much breakfast as they want, as long as they pay for a room.
So what can someone experience from the tour? Like, tell me a little bit more about, like, how long does it usually last?
Yeah. So
Where's one of the scariest places that you go?
right. So we have from haunted history to regular history, but then we have the paranormal tours, and the tours range anywhere from about an hour for the haunted history tour, which is more mild for people that really love historical buildings but don't really want the spookiness. And then you have the paranormal tours that some can last from 2 to 2.5 hours.
Depending on if you guys see anything.
No, that's about the time frame just in order to get the full experience in walking. And it's about only a 2-block walk, but we have lots of fun stops. And believe it or not, people are at the end at 2.5 hours are like, oh, that's it. We want to do some more. Can you come home with us? I think we have a ghost.
So are there times that you guys are out doing the tour and like you see something that you don't normally see and you're on the tour
Absolutely.
longer?
Well, yeah, that could happen. So we give it about 2.5 hours. And a lot of times the places that we go to, like the haunted hospital, we actually go above the basement, which was the old morgue. And we actually are in the tuberculosis center of where they used to gate them in and let them out for fresh air. So about 1,000 people died out on that area. And we'll have lights turn off. We'll see shadows.
So you always see ghosts or see things?
Not
or-
always, but pretty much every tour, somebody in the group, usually there's about, on the paranormal tour, there's a maximum of 13 people. And usually somebody will have an experience because we have so many haunted places that we go. And we have a lot of people that take the tour that are sensitives.
Yeah. So they can see and feel and experience things more so than other people in the group, right?
That's correct.
All right, this is Tampa Home Talk. If you want to get more information on this, 813-377-2775. 813-377-2775. Again, 813-377-2775. When we come back, we'll share a story from the tour. Back in a moment.
Well, good morning. Welcome back. This is Leo Kane. We actually, speaking of ghosts, we found Adam Talley from Talley Insurance.
Look at that. Welcome, Adam. We miss you.
Yeah, what happened to,
good morning.
what
How
happened
are
to
you
your
guys?
drive-by insurance tip of the week? Now it's just a call-in.
I know, right?
Yeah, well, we're getting some new printers delivered today, so somebody has to be at the office that can sign and do all the paperwork. So that falls on me today.
How's my renewal coming
I love
along?
the show so far. Oh, it's coming well.
I'm scared. I'm scared.
Oh, yeah,
I've only got
love it.
13 days left of insurance.
I've got one with you, too. Come on, man. Chop, chop.
Yeah,
I'm scared. Filled out application after application.
I know.
So what you got for us this week, Adam?
Well, it's funny. I was listening to the radio show. I was wondering how Ghostbusters would be classified on a GL class code. So I'm assuming maybe pest control or something like that.
Ancillary.
But ancillary, there we go. But no, so what I wanted to talk about today, because the questions come up quite a bit, because we have a lot of people that are buying houses, and obviously inventory is low, so some of these houses that are available, they need some work. They need some TLC to them. And, typically a homeowner's insurance carrier, they're not really going to want to insure you if the house is going to be vacant and you're going to be doing a bunch of work, especially major remodeling where you're moving walls and replacing the roof and all that stuff. So a solution that we have, and we've done it a couple times for some of your clients, Katrina, is writing a builder's risk policy.
Yeah, you've done one for me.
Yeah, exactly. And,
I'm going to need every bit of that year, by the way.
I know. And we have a product that'll actually cover the house on replacement cost, which the mortgage company is definitely going to want. And they can do 12-month policies, and the premium, I mean, Katrina, you can tell them the premium is actually
Cheap.
pretty affordable for what you get.
Not really insuring much, right? Do they insure contractor liability or no?
That would be a different policy, but you could, technically with something like that.
Well, considering the place I'm redoing
yeah.
is all the way down to the studs, I probably don't need too much.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is not only is it going to cover the structure, but it's going to cover all the things you're doing to it. So, let's just do a basic example. Let's say you buy the house, and the structure right now is going to be $200,000, but you're going to put $100,000 into it. Well, we can insure it for the full $300,000 during the entire process that you're rebuilding. So that's kind of it's not common, but I think it's going to become a lot more common as these houses are available that, like we said, they need some TLC.
Yeah, as foreclosures come on the market, which we'll be expecting in
absolutely.
future weeks ahead. Leo, I mean, you see that sometimes there's just too much on the 4-point. I mean, that could be a solid example when like everything on the 4-point's got to be redone.
It's just getting, the insurance companies are making the 4-point forms longer, which means they want more information. The more information you put on it, the more likely they're going to say no to insurance.
Yeah, so just because the house needs a ton of work, you can close with a builder's risk and get a conventional loan in a lot of cases.
Absolutely. And you'll still need a 12-month policy to meet the loan requirement.
Right.
But no fear, as soon as you're done with your renovations and you're ready to move in, we can cancel that policy and get, that prorated premium back to you.
So it's like any other policy. You pay for a year in advance, you get the prorations back, and you roll that to another policy, or do they get it back direct and have to pay for another policy?
Can you repeat that? I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, I didn't either. Your builder's risk is not one of those that you get a lot of money back.
Insurance is always paid a year in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wrote a check for my builder risk for the first year, but I only used it for 6 months. So is the insurance company sending me back a check directly for the remaining 6 months, and I pay for a whole new policy? Or are you getting that money back and rolling it towards my new policy if you're my agent, Adam?
So unless it was the same carrier, like a carrier could switch the money back and forth, to a new policy. So like if like we wrote your policy through Bankers. So Bankers has an HO3 product. If we wrote you an HO3 through them, yeah, we could probably call the accounting department and have it switched. But generally speaking, they're gonna mail that back to you. And if you're 6 months in, I always recommend people call their mortgage company and see what the mortgage company wants them to do. sometimes the mortgage company will just pay it, and then you can put the refund, back into escrow.
Yeah, that's
And then
if you're
called
escrowing, but I don't.
start a new date.
Yeah, I personally don't escrow in any property, so it's not an option for me.
Right.
But
So
yeah,
you would just get you would just get the money back. But if you're not escrowed, other than at the closing, you could just pay monthly at that point for the new policy. So you should be fine either way.
cool. Well, thank you for the tip, Adam. As always, glad to have you. We missed you. We'll see you next week,
Yep.
I'm sure. And thanks for calling in for
Ma'am. You guys have a
insurance
great
tip.
weekend.
Yeah. Adam Talley with Talley Insurance joining us. And so Chrissy Copeland, right? Copeland? Coplenic?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know if we have it spelled wrong or I said it wrong, but yeah. So anyway, the ghost tours, we were going to share some of the stories. Tell us about one of the stories that people are most fascinated by on the ghost tour. Like
Okay.
because you're talking about history, right? And what happened
Absolutely.
and what theoretically caused the ghosts to be in the building, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's definitely going to be our final destination, our hotel hell or our haunted hospital. It's kind of got a duplicity there. Ybor was founded in the late 1800s, and later in the early 1900s, they had a nice hospital there. And the doctor had a son who, after reading a lot of backstory research that we did, found out he put his son in the basement. And his son was schizophrenic, and we kind of had our own little Jack the Ripper after he grew up and got loose and free out in the streets. He ended up killing some women down there, and so that's kind of how the story goes. And we kind of, when we go to this hospital, we tell people that not only was it a hospital, but after the 70s it sat vacant for a while, and everybody knows that when something sits vacant, the ghosts stir up. And then
I didn't know that.
you ghost hunt and you find out, you go into these buildings. You haven't watched any of those horror shows where the building's dilapidated and they all come out and they get you?
No, Katrina doesn't watch any of that stuff.
So
You don't watch anything.
For the most part, but if I was going to pick something, that wouldn't be it.
Her TV is a ghost town.
I watch football. That's back on.
oh, that's back
part
on.
of it.
Yeah. So
Some of
Katrina
the
does?
what?
well, yeah.
Here's
So
what Katrina does. I went to her house. This is what Katrina does, and I get so mad when I tell her to watch a great program. She puts together puzzles. She has a big puzzle on her table, and she does puzzles.
hey, that's from COVID.
Well, yeah, they're from during COVID, but yeah, we put some together with my daughter. I work. That's what Katrina does. All right, this is Tampa Home Talk. Do we have any tickets we're giving out or coupon codes for our listeners?
Yep. So, if you guys want to give us a call, we'd be happy to give you guys $10 off for the first 20 callers.
All right.
And
So you're
off
going to
your
have to
tickets.
call or text $10, and we'll give you the $10 off. 813-377.
377-2775. That's 813-377-2775. Call or text the word 10
To 813.
or the number.
377.
You can text the number too.
2775. We'll be back for hour number 2. Bye.